Welcome to the 208 Fantasy Football Show. It is, what is it, Sunday, June 30th, the last day of June. And we are talking some fantasy football. It's been a week, but it starts right now. Gentlemen, welcome.
What's up?
How are you guys today? How's it going this evening?
Oh, it's so good. It's almost July, which is training camp month. We're like 3 weeks away from having football back. Oh, yeah. The beans are growing, the barley's turning, corn's knee high. Life's good.
Yes. We are in the thick of it for sure. Justin, you are busy as well.
Yeah, we're trying to get this house situation done. We finally got an offer on a house, and now Amber's just trying to push out this baby. So third one's on the way, hopefully any day. We're just trying to get it out. So.
Well, congrats.
Fingers crossed for a boy for you, bud.
I hope so. I got enough girls.
Either way, you love them all the same. It'll be fun. Well, hey, everybody, you're joining us on 208, the last day of June. Tomorrow will be July 1st. And we, as Chance mentioned, we are in full swing football. There are lots of football news, lots going on. Let's get into the news. What's going on? All right, hit us with what we got, gentlemen.
Nice. So first up, and I think one of the bigger signings, there's not a lot of news right now football-wise, but Ramondre Stevenson was re-signed with the Patriots. So he got a deal worth, I think, $17 million fully guaranteed, $36 million for a 4-year extension. So, I mean, Ramondre for me is a guy that never been on my radar, but it's a signing that makes me perk my eyes up and go, oh, yeah, maybe he's worth looking into.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chance. I think that's a very significant signing for the New England Patriots. There's two people that I like in that whole squad period, and it's Hunter Henry and Ramondre. Those are the only two fantasy relevant players in my mind, and this solidifies Ramondre for sure. I think he is especially we'll talk about it someday in his ADP, but his current ADP is pretty good right now. Mm-hmm. But it's good news for the Pats.
Yeah, good news for Ramondre owners. I tried to get him the week before I tried to acquire him in a dynasty league the week before his contract came out, and it came out, and I said, well, that trade's not happening.
For sure. What else you got, sir?
Couple of big things. The Dolphins and Tua have been in talks. The Dolphins saying they don't want to give him Jared Goff money. So it'll be real interesting to see what the contract happens for Tua. I'm curious to think if you guys think Tua is worth what you think his contract is worth.
That's a tough question. I mean, we all saw what Trevor Lawrence got. I don't think he's worth it. It's like what's Patrick right now? He's like the 10th paid highest quarterback. Like, I just don't know that you could pay Tua that much money. Like, again, I think I said it to Matt our last show. I really think Tua and Brock Purdy are pretty similar. Or their offenses make them look a lot better than they are. But, like, you have to pay him. Like, you can't let him walk. Like, someone's going to pay him. So, I don't know, like 50 million a year, 45 mil a year. Like, that's probably the baseline what you're going to have to pay him. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so if you don't have Tua, who do you get? Mm-hmm. Who are you going to take, right? Are you going to go with a rookie? You're really not in that frame right now. So, yeah, you're probably not worth Goff money, but it's kind of I don't know. It's the same thing Dallas is in, right? They're trying to figure out what do you do if you don't take Dak? Who are you taking? So they got to pay him something. Well, it's going to be interesting and fun to see.
Those contract numbers just keep jumping too. Like, just pulling it up. Like, Joe Burrow's 55, Trevor's 55, Jared Goff's 53, Herbert's 52, Lamar's 52, Jalen Hurts is 51, and Kyler Murray's 46. I don't know if you take Tua over any of those quarterbacks, to be honest. And like the thing is he's gonna have to get paid anywhere between that $50 to $55 million a year. It's just that's just how it goes.
Yep, agreed.
I think it's crazy, and I'm on this end of it because I've been a Tua owner in fantasy for the last bit. He's my QB1, and I have been real pleased with him. Like I have had no issues with him as a quarterback, and I'm curious, when we talk about Goff money, like if you think Goff is a better quarterback, or is Goff the same kind of system quarterback that Tua is?
Yeah. Nope, it's a hard one for us to kind of guess on, but for sure, I probably agree with you, Justin. He's probably in the get that $50 million a year would be my guess. I guess the question is for how long. So
yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, especially like with fantasy football and real football, like Tua played so bad at the end, and we all forget how well he played at the beginning. And plus, like, he played really bad in the playoffs. Jared Goff played really well in the playoffs. So like, it's hard to compare them because it feels like Tua's best games were so far away in like September. But like Chance was saying, he was killing it those first, I think, 10 weeks, and then it gets a little bit colder and it feels like he doesn't play up to standard. So just remember that, like, real football and fantasy football are very different things.
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, even with that, and I'm not going to belabor the Tua point, but we're drafting 2 of his wide receivers and multiple of those running backs with the expectation that his Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have very high ADPs. You have Amon-Ra, and then what? I mean, like, how much further down is Laporta or Jameson Williams? So we expect them to have a high-powered passing offense, but that has to funnel through a quarterback. So, it is tough. It's tough to determine what a quarterback's worth regular. But anyways, last little bit of news. Have you guys seen all of the Brandon Ayuk stuff? I mean, it's like a bubbling kettle, man.
It's like a soap opera.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. It's also terrifying because he could go to some other team and just ruin a fantasy player, at the drop of a hat. Anyways, so with those updates, he had posted on his Instagram Live that he pulled up to Levi Stadium saying he wanted to stay there. He said he wanted to be a 49er. And then on a podcast he was on, he said if they don't want him, he'd be happy to go play somewhere else. And, who's the rookie? Jaden Daniels was on that podcast, and he says, there's a quarterback right there. I'd play with that quarterback. And now Ayuk to the Washington Commanders is all the rage. People have been talking about where he might go. So just stuff to keep. It's pointless stuff, but it's happening.
It's the San Francisco 49er way. We talked about that earlier at an episode or 2 before. They always wait. They're not going to give him a contract extension. They're going to let him play it out, and they're gambling a little bit. It is what it is. I hope he does leave. I don't think him being on the 49ers helps him at all. I think his fantasy value would be much, much higher if he was with Washington. You could probably argue the Steelers as well, but I would love to see him leave. I think the kid's super talented, but unfortunately, where his ADP is right now, I'm not touching him. I think it's too high for the 49ers. So that's just me.
That makes me. So I want to ask both of you this. With Ayuk, if you're the Niners, after this year, let's say they keep him this year, they're going to stamp out. Would you rather have him or Debo moving forward?
So 49ers, I'm going to take this one first, Justin. The 49ers, Debo is different. Debo is very much tied to them. He is kind of a heart and soul for them. I know they say Christian McCaffrey, I get that, but that guy is just built different. I know he's getting older, but if I had to pick to 2 and it wasn't, money wasn't an option, give me Debo for the team. Contract wise, right now, Debo's more expendable, but I want Debo. Justin.
Lineberry.
I want Brandon Ayuk because I think he's better. I feel like Debo had that one really good year, and like Debo is getting paid quite a bit of money. we were talking about this before the show, like dead cap and like how much is it gonna work? If they were to cut Debo after this year, they would save. So if he plays the whole 2024 year, his age 28 year, they come back, they cut him post June. They only ate $6 million and they saved $17 million. So I don't know. Like I think Brandon Ayuk is your more typical wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see how Pearsall fits in that offense. I feel like that will kind of define how I feel about it. And they signed Jawan Jennings. Like I don't know. I think Ayuk is a better player at this rate.
That's why I want him to go.
it would be funner to see him in Washington, but Washington makes no sense to me. Like I get that Jay Daniels and Ayuk played together at Arizona State, but they have 3 decent wide receivers there. It'll be interesting to see what McCaffrey is, but they still have Scary Terry. They have Jahan Dotson. So like, it doesn't make a lot of sense like fit wise to me. So
who's your third wide receiver over there? The Senator Ben Sinnott?
I think McCaffrey's going to be that guy, but I don't know. You said it with rookie quarterbacks, Chance, a couple of shows ago. Like they're not gonna. They don't support a lot of wide receivers their first year. So I don't know. I think Brandon Ayuk is a better wide receiver. He's your more traditional wide receiver, where Debo is more gadgety, and that's where I see it. They can cut him after this year and save quite a bit of money. So.
I don't remember if we've had this conversation on this pod or off the pod, but I think they're better off to keep Ayuk, cut Debo, and then transition CMC into that role that Debo had. We've all seen that the Shanahan system can support running backs like crazy. So if you can make CMC do what Debo has been doing, and then get, I don't know, Elijah Mitchell or maybe their rookie Isaiah Grendo in there running the ball, like I think McCaffrey and Debo, though not the same, are more similar. They can just transition him, save his body a little bit going that way. But I can't wait to see.
We will see. That is all we have for the NFL news. There'll be more to come for sure. Super excited about that. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of our show, and we're going division breakdown. Hey, we're talking AFC South today.
AFC South.
We talk a little bit Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Colts, and our Titans. So I am excited. Let's jump right into it. Let's pull up our little stat sheet. I'll explain kind of what we're doing. So we're going to start off the Houston Texans. So these are our projected starters, right? Nothing set in stone yet, but this is who we think are going to be the starters. Your ranking is the quarter or position ranking, and then your AD is in green, and your ADP is in red. And for those just listening, we'll talk through it for sure. But I wanted to give you a visual. We did this last 2 times. Hey, let's break this down so we can see and have some discussion. Justin, what do you got for the Houston Texans? What do you know about them?
All right, so they finished 12th in total offense, 7th in passing offense, 22nd in rushing offense, and then 13th in scoring offense. As you know, Bobby Sloak was a pretty hot commodity during the offseason, and he decided to come back and work with C.J. Stroud one more year, being a little bit picky like Ben Johnson up in Detroit about what job he wants to take. Slowick, like Shanahan, is pretty confident that he can make any running back work in his system, so it'll be interesting to see how Joe Mixon works with that. Their draft, they went pretty heavy with defense, and then they did a little bit of investment in their O-line and Fisher in the 2nd round out of Notre Dame. He'll probably sit behind one of the tackles, either Howard or Tunsil, just because they've been there before. And me and Chance were talking about this when I was helping him farm the other day. Just like, it's crazy how fast they switched talent. Like, I feel like last year, like everybody said, this roster is garbage. It is so bad. And it feels like they turned it around so fast. Look at their depth chart. It just feels so stacked.
No, I agree, Justin. I think it was interesting. I mean, how the winds change when things are going well. I mean, we have no receivers. We don't have much. We don't believe in Nico. Well, maybe we do. Tank Dell, he's a rookie. He's not going to do anything to all of a sudden Stroud throwing the ball everywhere, getting Schultz involved in that offense. And we saw what the offense was. The defense was pretty darn good too, to them making the playoffs. Here we are a year later talking about, oh my gosh, Stroud. That is not correct. Then it's not number one. I believe he is not number one overall.
He's got to be like 7.
He's 5. He's 5. So he's number 5 quarterback, right? Going from a rookie to number 5 quarterback, all to 45th pick overall. Thoughts on that, you guys? Good with that? Too high for you?
I just I get the CJ Stroud hype, but geez, man, I feel like we are going such a big swing the other way. I don't know. I just went draft him that high. That is super rich for me. He doesn't bring any running value. I get he balled out. We've seen rookie guys do it. I think we all forgot what Herbert did his first year. Baker went off his first year, and they just didn't have the same second year as I think they're projecting CJ Stroud. This is definitely a ceiling. This is his ceiling. It's top 5. So I just don't think you draft that.
So you have players. Oh, go ahead, Chance.
Well, I'm just going to agree. I think that without that running, without his groundwork, CJ Stroud's a pocket passer. And I just think that you can find pocket passers with equal weapons in a similar offensive scheme so much later that are going to provide you the same numbers or very similar numbers to what CJ's ADP is going. I mean, CJ Stroud versus Matt Stafford versus Brock Purdy, those other pocket, even Joe Burrow, those other pocket passers that don't have the groundwork, man, give me those guys with a lower ADP all day. I love CJ. I don't love him at that price.
And remember, you're talking 4th round value, and other quarterbacks that are around him. Anthony Richards at 47, Lamar Jackson's 39, Joe Burrow's 57. So,
give me all those guys.
Right, you're right. It's certainly, the quarterback position is pretty deep. You don't have to reach for one here. If you're comfortable with it and he's your guy, whatever. I'm not going to follow you. I'm probably not reaching this high. But number 5 overall, if people love to do this, they like to look at last year, probably appropriate. 45 pick overall. I'm a little rich for my blood, but I think we seem to be a consensus on that. So
for sure.
Moving to running back. So new running backs for the Texans. And Justin, you talked a little bit about it. The coach saying we can make any running back work. And I just put the 2 up there. Mixon and Pierce are the running backs for them. You can see their position rank, 13 and 62, and then their ADP, their average draft position, 61 and 202. Thoughts on those? Chance, to start with you.
I've never been a big Joe Mixon fan, but he always produces for fantasy. And he was a guy that they went out, they targeted him in free agency. And I think last year it was pretty evident that the coaching staff, the team, Dameon Pierce just fell out of favor. I mean, he's a great lesson in when a guy comes in and can blow up at the running back position with a low draft capital. There's no guarantee that player is going to last because they replaced him quick, and they did not feature him last year. I think he was going as a top 5 dynasty running back 2 years ago. Dameon Pierce was the new hotness a couple years ago, and now he's this afterthought. I'm interested to see what Joe Mixon is going to do. I'm not pumped because I think he's old, and to me, he's the next running back to hit a cliff. I just don't know when it's going to be. Yep. That running back cliff. Joe Mixon's right there. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm out on both of these running backs, though.
Justin?
So they ran 11 personnel 56% of the time, which was their most dominant personnel position. So 1 running back, 3 wide receivers. So this is just a theory. I am in, if I go opposite of what I'm saying, so if I'm in redrafts, I'm probably gonna go running back. But if I went wide receiver dominant those first 2 rounds, 2 running backs that I look at are Joe Mixon or Mondre. I just feel like the Texans are gonna get treated a little bit like Patrick Mahomes' 3rd year, where they just started playing safeties 25 yards deep. And they're going to be we're going to make them run the ball, where that's where Slowick is kind of confident. He does a really good run scheme up with being a disciple of Shanahan, where Joe Mixon should get a lot of this work. And Dameon Pierce has no relationship, no connection with this front office, with this coaching staff. So they went out and got Joe Mixon. And I feel like he's still 27. He still did really well. Like he's super consistent. I don't feel like he's ever going to give you like those 4-point weeks. Like it's always going to be anywhere from like 10 to 15, 10 to 18 if it's PPR. So I do really like Joe Mixon in this offense. I think they invested somewhat in their O-line. They have 2 really good bookend tackles. Their guards are still pretty young, and I really trust Bobby Slowick to really just lean on Joe Mixon maybe a little bit more this year with more defenses trying to defend the pass with CJ Stroud.
For sure. So just to clarify here, so Mixon's birthday is next month. It is the 24th. He'll be 28, which we kind of know the 28 years to make a break for running backs in the NFL. And also, so he had 257 attempts last year, and a lot of that was because Burrow was injured, right? So he got a lot of work. He had 4 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns. I think he's probably going to be viable. At 61, what is that? 61 puts him in the 5th round, I think. So maybe depending on what running backs are there and whatnot, if he's a good number 2 running back in my eyeballs, I think to kind of see where that goes, I'm okay with that. Pierce is maybe a late handcuff. If you really like that offense, maybe he's viable, but I'm 202 dart throw. No big deal for me.
Yeah.
So wide receivers. This is where it gets goofy for me. Collins, Dell, and Diggs. So guys, if you look at the numbers, right? So they're ranked 13. Collins is 13. Tank Dell's 26. Stephon Diggs is 23. That's position rank. And then their ADP, Nico Collins is 18. Tank Dell's 35. Diggs is 31. Is there enough volume for all 3 of these guys to be here? Justin, I'm gonna start with you. Let's what's your thoughts here? Who do you like? Do you want any particular one, or
this is after? Well, I don't know. We'll get to Schultz, but I think Schultz's ranking is egregious. Like 130 is crazy to me. But anyways, I have been so frustrated about the narrative that Stephon Diggs is the number 1 in this offense. There is no way that Stephon Diggs is going to come in here and be the one. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are going to own this offense. Like, Chance alluded to this, and, like, it's something that I think about a lot. Is like, when CJ Stroud got his pick of the litter, when he was designing his own offense, he picked Tank Dell. We can all agree that Tank Dell is not a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I think we're all consensus on that. But CJ Stroud believes in that guy. Okay, so if the quarterback believes in him, he's going to get peppered. Okay, Nico Collins just signed a 3-year, 75. I can't remember it. So like they believe in him. There is no way that I would take Stephon Diggs above Tank Dell. There is absolutely no way. I think Nico and Tank Dell can be top 24 guys pretty easily. There is no way Stephon Diggs is going to be a top 24 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Tank Dell guy. I took him in my rookie draft. I thought he was awesome at Houston. And he just goes everywhere with CJ Stroud. Like, they literally hang out. They travel together. They're best buddies. And I think it says something. Quick trivia for you guys. Do you guys know the last team in the NFL to have 3 1,000-yard wide receivers? Any guesses? It happened in the late aughts. Like, it was like 08 or 09.
Gosh, I was going to say the Rams, but
that's what I was going to say.
The greatest show on turf. That'd be my guess, but that's probably not it.
No, it was the Arizona Cardinals in, like I said, 08 or 09 with Fitzgerald and Anquan, and then they had one other guy that was a 1,000-yard receiver. So it hasn't happened in a long time. I do think this offense could push that, and I don't like if I ended up with Stephon Diggs on a roster, I wouldn't be mad. I'd love to target Dell, but I do think that all of these receivers are going to be relevant certain weeks of the fantasy season. I think that there's every single week one of these guys is going to win you a week, but it's just hard to pick which week it is. So I'm going to fall on Tank Dell because he's my guy, but yeah, it's a tough pick.
Yeah, I think Nico is your most consistent guy day in and day out. If you don't want a super fluctuating guy, but I think Tank Dell is going to be the guy that wins you a league.
It will be difficult. I guess my take on this is Diggs. I'm not touching. I'm not touching Diggs. He is a depth guy, for playoffs, right? and we'll see. I heard some crazy rumor they're already thinking about trading him, but I don't know. We'll see. I was like, it was crazy. I was like, that didn't take long. But I guess if I like Nico and Dell this high, then I love CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's how you have to look at it. If I'm not a big fan of CJ Stroud, then I don't like Nico or Dell at these prices. So it's up to you, the fantasy owner, of what you like and don't like. The quarterbacks make the wide receivers, and to me, Nico and Tank are the guys out of this group to own. If either one fall to you, go ahead and take them. It's okay, and I really like the stack if you can get the stack, but don't reach for stacks. Let them fall. Let them fall naturally.
Okay.
I do want to talk about Schultz because Justin, you mentioned. I mean, so he's tight end 13, 130 overall. And Justin, you mentioned it before. Like, what are your thoughts on Schultz here?
I just don't understand some of the tight ends ranked above him. Like again, I'm like CJ Stroud's dude. Like he's ranked that high for a reason. Like he was so good last year. Like I thought he was kind of washed when he did sign a contract with Dallas and he went to the Texans. I just thought he was going to be the forgotten guy, but he played really well. He's super consistent. Like it seems like him and CJ Stroud have some kind of repertoire like with each other. Like with tight ends, like if you're not one of those top 4 guys, like, and you just want a guy that's gonna not give you a goose egg, I think he's a perfect fit.
Chance?
Dalton Schultz to me is a reminder, and I think this has been said for on many years for the last probably 10 years. I think we're coming out of tight end purgatory in fantasy, and I think we're going to start to have a lot more relevant tight ends. I think it's just a position that the NFL recognizes that if you have a good one, you are in a really good position to succeed. All the really good teams have really good tight ends. They're able to target them. And so I think Dalton Schultz is a guy that absolutely, like if you're going to go late tight end, like you could go late tight end, get Dalton Schultz and have a productive spot at that position. Because I think outside of the top 4 tight ends, maybe top 6, I think 7 through 20 are all going to be really close in points.
No, I agree. Schultz did exactly what he needed to do last year. He was brought in to help out a rookie quarterback. So he was targeted 88 times, 59 receptions, 635 yards, 5 touchdowns. As Stroud was getting kind of the thing, getting into the groove of things with Nico and Dell. He was that veteran guy. He turns 28 next month on the 11th. So been in the league a little bit, but he is that veteran player that's perfect for this team. They may utilize him a little bit more, but I think you could very easily going to get the same numbers, 700 yards, 5-6 touchdowns, and you can navigate that. And at the ADP price of 130, yeah, that's such a bargain. You don't have to necessarily reach for a mid tight end. I think there's probably only 4 tight ends that are in that top tier, and then after that, it's going to be pretty close in my opinion. So, but Schultz is a huge bargain. Yeah. Before we move on, gentlemen, anything out of Houston Texans that you've seen or curious about, or final thoughts on Houston Texans?
Just for the dynasty people, like big dynasty guy, John Mechie is still, if he's on your waivers, like he had cancer last year, he's coming back. Like if you still have a spot on your taxi, like I don't think he's the worst pickup in the world, especially with Stephon Diggs only being there 1 year. He's in his 2nd year of his 4-year contract. Just a good guy to have. He was really good at Alabama, didn't play at all last year because of his cancer treatments, but now he's good to go. So just one guy, just like super awesome to have back. I'm super excited to watch it this year. So.
Yeah, nothing but respect for that guy. Super excited he's coming back and making a push to getting back to full health. So wish him all the best. All right, moving on from the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Justin, what do you got?
All right, Jacksonville. All right. They had the 13th total offense, 9th in passing, 24th in rushing, and then 13th in scoring. They were tied with the Texans exactly in scoring offense, so I thought that was kind of funny. They do a lot of duo, so a lot of double teams, and with their zone scheme. It seems like they want to lean on Travis Etienne as their best guy in that whole offense. He's really good, really consistent. It'll be interesting to see if they give Tank Bigsby anything. They're actually the 9th highest passing offense, and then they ran the ball 41% of the time. They did a huge investment in Lawrence. Me and Matt talked about that, where we were just shocked about it. They also invested in Lawrence by bringing in Gabe Davis and then drafting Brian Thomas Jr. They signed Mitch Morse as well from the Bills, I believe. He's going to play center for them. So they've invested a lot in the offense around Trevor Lawrence this year. So.
Yeah, T-Law was kind of a. I really thought they would make him try to earn it one year. They decided, nope, he's going to be our guy. We're going to kind of go with it and see what happens. So you can see him. Trevor Lawrence is the 15th overall quarterback at 102. What are your guys' expectations and thoughts on Trevor Lawrence this year? Just curious. Chance, let's start with you.
Man, I want him to be good. I want him to be good so badly. And, he's a guy that in Dynasty, I'm really bummed I didn't go get him last year from the T-Law owner in my Dynasty League, Lineberry. Because he hasn't done a lot to really show. I just don't think he's shown the hype that he's had. He's been a good quarterback. He just hasn't shown up to be what everyone thought he was going to be, Andrew Luck or the next big thing. I think at 15, I would rather have at his ADP. I'd rather have him over CJ Stroud. I mean, I think he has similar weapons. He's more proven. They want to build around him. Give me that pocket passer over CJ Stroud as ADP.
Justin?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence is hard. Like, he's an enigma on my team because I lucked into my QB1, which was I sat with Jordan Love for 2 years and he just popped. So I'm just like, all right, like Trevor Lawrence is not he's never gonna start for my team, but I don't know. Like, I just don't know if they use him right. That's how it feels. Like, he was so good in college at Clemson, and I just don't feel like they, at least in that offense, they don't highlight some of his attributes very well. They do a lot of 11 personnel, which, again, just like the Texans, is one running back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers, which I'm assuming they will do a lot of. So in their personnel packages, there's about 15 of them. Travis Etienne is the touch leader in 12 of them. So, like, as we transition to running back, like, holy crap! Like, his name is just scattered all over my spreadsheet. So, I mean, I hope they do some more downfield passing with Gabe Davis coming in and Brian Thomas coming in. As you know, Gabe Davis is a really good down the field guy. Brian Thomas can run a slant really well and a go really well. So hopefully we can get some yak and like those wide receivers can help out Trevor Lawrence. It'd be nice to see him do well. Like, heard all these great stories about him in college, just like Chad said. So.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. I'm okay with taking Trevor Lawrence at 15. If he is not your worst quarterback you can get, I agree. There might be a couple that sit a little bit later. But if you like him and believe in it's Doug Peterson's second year, trying to get the ball around, trying to establish that offense. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't had the best coaching since he's been in the league. It's been rough for him. He's just trying to learn. It seemed like a new a new head coach every year. So at 102 overall, that's pretty far down there, right? You're down there a ways, ninth round, maybe somewhere in there. I'm okay with it. You could do worse for sure. He does need to prove himself though, because if not, he's just continue to fall, and people are just going to get tired of him. So, running back, we have ETN 10 overall, 10th in rank, 45th overall. Tank Bigsby is 64 and 210 or 211. Sorry. Justin, give me your thoughts on ETN Bigsby backfield for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You like them? I don't know. Possible.
So I traded away Travis Etienne last year to Chance.
Yeah.
He could talk. Like, he finished really a lot better than I thought he would. Like, he was just like such an enigma, I felt like, the whole year. But like, they have invested quite a bit in this offense. Like, Cam Robinson's a good left tackle. Elijah Cleveland from Boise State, like, he's been a good tackle. They signed Mitch Morse, Brendan Sheaf, and then Anton Harrison's coming to his second year. Like, they love Travis Etienne in this offense. Like, as I alluded to earlier, like, he is the touch leader in 12 out of their 15 packages. Like, it's the first one I've seen like that anomaly, like that substantial. Like, he gets the ball a lot, and it feels like they hated Tank Bigsby, where I thought Tank Bigsby was pretty good coming out of Auburn. Like, they're just like, nah, you suck. We're not playing you. So, again, running back wise, like, if you go running back, which I think most people should go in redraft, like he's a good one to get as your second guy. I think he's gonna catch a ton of balls at PPR, and I think that their offensive line is super improved.
Chance?
Yeah, I'm always surprised when I look up Travis Etienne, just how big he is. Like I always just assumed Travis Etienne was like a smaller pass catching back, but he's 5'10", 215. Like he's not even victim weight.
Not victim weight, baby.
He's a big running back, and I was surprised last year at how well he did. I traded for him, and I really enjoyed having him on my team. This year, where he's falling, like I feel like 10 is a really appropriate number for where he's ranked for running back. And I could totally see him finishing anywhere from 8 to 15 by the end of the year, because they do want to give him the majority of that backfield. I just don't know if they want to give him the same kind of touches this year. Like I think they're going to try to get the ball to him, passing it, and save some of that wear and tear on his body. It is evident. Remember when Tank Bigsby was the new hotness last year? And everyone's like, Tank Bigsby's going to come in, take that backfield. He's going to be the man. That didn't happen. And there aren't any other running backs behind Tank that really wrestle your Jimmies either. So I think Etienne, where he's at, like everybody said, like if you go running back, like Etienne would be a great RB2, an absolute great RB2 to have if you can pick him up.
Nope, I agree with both of you. Let me start with Bigsby. I think there's a little bit of hope there, but he fumbled the ball a couple times last year. It was kind of rough on him. He's clearly the backup. Etienne is the guy. Just for a couple of players around him. Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams are 2 above him. Pacheco and Jacobs are 2 below. I agree with Chance. I think he's perfectly placed at the 10 spot, 45th pick overall. Etienne reminds me of a couple of players. And if you played fantasy football long enough, you're like, they just don't go away. And Austin Eckler, every year I thought, yep, he's not gonna do anything. Nope, he's not gonna do anything. And he did really well, right?
That's a good call.
Mixon is kind of in that way too. He's like, I don't think I want him, and he kind of did okay. Etienne fits right in that mix that I'm like, you know what? People are gonna sleep on him, and I'm gonna go ahead and scoop him up in the 4th round. And with going maybe wide receiver, and him being maybe even my number 1 running back, I'd be okay with that if I get the right guys. So I think he's a bargain in the 4th round, and I'll take him. I'll take him. I'm optimistic on that offense too. So
I love and I hate those comps, because I feel the same way about Etienne that I always felt about Mixon, and I always felt about Eckler. Miss me on him, and then I'm so mad that I didn't pick him up.
Yep. I agree with you, Chance, for sure. Moving on to wide receiver. So we have the 3 wide receivers here, pretty spread out. It appears everybody feels Christian Kirk is the number 1 there, who is 27 overall, 39th 8 overall ADP. Gabe Davis is the ranked 64 wide receiver and 134 ADP. And then Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, is ranked 45 and 74th overall. What are you guys' thoughts on these 3? Chance, I'll start with you.
I have been, I'm sick in the head, and I've already been doing mock drafts for my redraft league.
Me too.
It's especially in one where it's a keeper league, and I'm going to have 2 running backs to start with, and I have regularly picked up Christian Kirk as my wide receiver 1, and I don't love it, but I also know that he's going to I'm a firm believer he's going to consistently get the ball, and he's going to be somebody that he has the trust of Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a really consistent, maybe not a high ceiling guy, but a really, really high floor wide receiver. Gabe Davis is hard to trust. I'm excited to see what he does there. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to absolutely eat in this offense. And if I had to rank them, it would be how they're ranked, right? Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, and Gabe Davis in that order for ADP and ranking. I think by the end of the year, you're going to see Brian Thomas Jr. eclipse Christian Kirk as wide receiver 1 in this team.
Justin, agree, disagree?
The Brian Thomas enigma. I just don't know if he's gonna be good. Like, is he gonna be QJ? Like, I don't know. That's just the vibes I get. I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way about him. Like, Christian Kirk is like the biggest wide receiver that has just like he's totally forgotten as the number one in like offenses. Like, he is the number one in this offense. Like, no ifs, ands, and buts. Gabe Davis is the most frustrating fantasy player to have on your roster. My advice is don't draft him because he will have 4 touchdowns one game and then wait 8 weeks to ever touch the ball again. So, like, I just stay away from him at all. So, like Chance was saying, like, if I can get a number one this late in the draft, like, the only one that I'm probably going to be kind of excited about is Kirk, even at that 39 price range. Like, I feel like Brian Thomas could be Gabe Davis again and just be super boomer bust, and I don't really love having those on my roster.
Fair enough. I will agree with you in the order for sure, the way it stands, and I'm a little more towards Chance on this one. I like Brian Thomas Jr. I think that the kid is 6'4". He ran a 4.33. So he's got way better hands than Quentin, right? I'm like, this kid can play. I don't know that he's a go up in the air kind of receiver to go get him. I think he's more of that slant go guy. I mean, he's fast. That's what all he did at LSU. But if he develops better and more so, I'm all on it. Especially at 74 overall, that might be a little high for me, but I would okay. If I get Kirk, I'm probably going to try to get Brian Thomas Jr. too. If it falls right, I'm not going to try too hard. But I like Kirk a lot, and Chance in my mock drafts, I seem to end up with Kirk too. I don't know why. It's just weird that way. I don't know. But I do worry about him because he'll get injured, right? He's had those hamstring injuries, and it's like But I do believe in Trevor Lawrence and the Brian Thomas Jr. connection, and I'm okay with getting him.
Matt, can you tell me who's going around Christian Kirk in that ADP you're looking at?
Yeah, for sure.
Wide receiver wise.
So Tank Dell, and Zay Flowers above him. Amari Cooper, George Pickens behind him.
Ooh,
that's tough because of those five, Christian Kirk is 5 for me.
The other than Pickens, in my opinion, he's the only number 1. Right, so I don't want number 2s on my roster if I can help it. I'll take Christian Kirk over Amari Cooper over Zay Flowers. Tank Dell might be hard. I don't know. It's close, but I do like having the number 1 on number 1 receivers on my teams. So
Amari Cooper is not a sexy name, but dang it, dude, he is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Sure is, and he's a number 1. So I get that. But interesting, fun stuff. Gotta go with what your gut says. This one is a challenging one for sure. And this offense, I think a lot of it has to do with what's challenging. We just don't know what this offense is yet. And we'll let it settle out a little bit as we get closer as training camps.
Are we not going to talk about Evan Ingram, tight end 1?
We are going to talk about Evan Ingram right now.
Tight end 1.
So Chance, what do you think?
I just looked up his stats. What the heck?
Yeah, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram has a chance to finish tight end 1 this season. And that's a hill I will die on. Evan Ingram absolutely ate last year to finish the year. Lineberry, you looked up his stats? Share it with me. Share it with
my
us.
Gosh. He had 114 catches and 143 targets.
Uh-huh.
Holy crap. He only had 4 touchdowns. If he scores 2 more touchdowns and gets 6, he only had 4 touchdowns.
Uh-huh.
What in the world? That's crazy.
I think Evan Ingram, there's a number of tight ends I think could be number 1 this year. Now, I don't think Evan Ingram will get 140 targets again.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
I don't think. I mean, you just brought in Christian Kirk. You just drafted Brian Thomas Jr. Right? I don't see it going that high again. I just don't. I don't see it. It brought in Gabe Davis. He's got weapons around him now, but Evan Ingram will continue to eat. The year before, he still had nearly 100 targets, nearly 800 yards and 4 touchdowns. That to me seems a little more realistic for this next year. But still, that's at 77. He's tight end 7. If you're going to go off last year's stats, I don't know how he's not ranked higher than that. But if the list, let me show you. I'll give you the list here of where we have them ranked.
Well, Matt's looking that up. Like even the year before that, he had 98 targets. Like if you just meet in the middle and he gets 110, I'll take that. Give me targets all day. Holy crap!
So above him, I'll give you. So above him, obviously, I have Travis Kelce, Laporta, McBride, Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts, and then Ingram. I think people are now understanding how stacked the tight end position is. It's you're like Evan Ingram's down there. Then behind that you have Kittle, Ferguson, Bowers. Schultz is down there a little bit. Dallas Goedert's another tight end that can eat for Philly. I mean, geez, guys, there's a lot here. Don't reach on tight end, but if Ingram falls in your lap,
those top 7 are real nice.
Yes,
real nice.
So, anything else for Jacksonville? Hopes, wishes, thoughts, intrigues?
Just their defense. Like they got Arik Armstead. Like their defense will be much improved, and they brought out their defensive coordinator from Atlanta, who I thought did a really good job last year. They brought in a few linebackers as well. I think their defense is going to be crazy improved. So I don't know how much that affects their offense from scoring. Like if that makes more running the ball. So it'll be interesting to see how their defense improving impacts their offense's overall scoring ability.
For sure. Chance, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on. Halfway through our breakdown, Indianapolis Colts, the return of Aaron Richardson, AR5. Justin, what do you know about the Colts?
All right. So 15th in total offense, 20th in passing, 10th in rushing, 10th in scoring offense. Scheme buys inside zone with some split zone, allowing running backs to like kind of read the blocks. I think Shane Steichen's probably one of the top 7, top 10ish coaches in the league, just offensive wise. Like I feel like he was the mastermind behind Philly and like their run game, and you saw kind of Philly kind of fall off last year with their offense, and I feel like he was a huge part of that and get Jalen Hurts to play at a really high level. O-line's not what it used to be. It's still really good, like still top 15, still top 12 O-line, but they have tried to restructure it a little bit. They brought in a 3rd-round offensive tackle. Now he sees a lot of time on the field. They ran the ball 44% of the time and then passed 56% of the time.
Fair enough. It'll be fun to see AR come back, as I alluded to. He is ranked number 6 behind CJ Stroud in the ranking, 47th overall. That puts him in that 4th, 5th round. Chance, what are your thoughts on AR5 this year?
I think that I think he's a guy that I would love to have, right? I think that there's a ton of hype around him. I really hope he can stay healthy. Like he's as big as Derrick Henry. The dude is an absolute monster of a human being. And so he's absolutely a quarterback that I would want. And I feel comfortable picking him up early, knowing that I could get a Tua or a Stafford or a Trevor Lawrence. Like I could get a quarterback later just in case he runs into some of that injury stuff. But he has so much upside.
Justin?
Yeah, I've been on this train, dude. Like, he is the man. Like, he's huge. Like, he's Cam Newton personified. Like, I'm so excited to watch him play. Like, if he's gonna be like Josh Allen, just run around making plays. And like I said earlier, like I trust Shane Steichen just to scheme him up. Like maybe his passing isn't great. Like I really do see like a Daniel Jones type year. Like I know everybody like Daniel Jones is like a terrible word to say in the fantasy community, but like his second year, like Daniel Jones was a top 10 guy just because he ran the ball so well.
Yeah.
And like I feel like Anthony Richardson has such a better offense around him and a better play caller for that. Maybe he jumps into the top 5. Like where he is going draft right now is 6. I think he can be the one. You are drafting a little bit at silly, but this is a guy that I'm willing to take that risk on.
Yeah, I agree. This is a little low for me, and I'm going to explain why. So 47 is low. I think you're getting a bargain here. And look, if I'm going to put him this high, that means I'm probably putting him up there with Hurts and Mahomes. Okay, I agree with both of you guys. So to Chance's point, he's 6'4", 244 pounds. I'm going to give you guys some stats here that you got to understand. He said he played 4 games. We know he played roughly probably 3.5, whatever. He attempted 84. He had 50 completions for 577 yards and 3 touchdowns in 4 games. That's throwing. That's a QBR of not real great, but still not a bad. He was sacked 7 times, but not a bad passing. He threw 3 touchdowns in 4 games. Right? Okay, that's pretty on par for a lot of QBs throwing 1 quarterback. Okay, here's the part that we all get excited about. 4 games, he carried the ball 25 times for 136 yards and had 4 touchdowns rushing in 3.5 games. I know it's a small sample. It's a really small sample, but just do the math figuring that out. Let that play out through the whole season. Dude, those are MVP numbers. And I know, I'm just projecting it. I get it. But really, now a whole year of kind of being in the system, maybe not game time stuff, but I'm telling you, this guy could win MVP if he gets the numbers right. It's written clearly on the table for those who are like, he hasn't done anything yet. I'm like, well, he did in 4 games. He did a lot in 4 games when you look at it. So I'm excited about him.
He has not played a lot of football, and he is kind of like I feel like a lot of people are looking at Brock Purdy and a lot of these rookies coming in, and they've played they just played so much football in college. And Anthony Richardson, he played 13 games in college, and then it's 4, but it was 2 full games and then 2 half games.
Right. So 3 games.
Played. So 3 games.
So it's like what?
I think he's started less than 20 games in his entire football career. And he 100% could win the MVP this year. He could be a fantasy game changer. I couldn't agree more with you.
All right, moving on. RBs. So I put Trey Sermon on here. I don't know why. I guess if Taylor gets hurt or something, JT gets hurt.
Listen, I wanted to talk about Trey Sermon when we talked about this because I think he's really important to talk about.
I agree. That's why I put him on here. I do think it's important, but let's talk about JT first. So
what about Evan Hull?
What about Evan Hull? Come on. Maybe. So
who?
Yeah, I know. JT's ranked 5 for RBs, and then 16th overall. Sermon is 71 rank, and 239 is ADP. I kind of want to talk about JT a little bit more than Sermon, and we'll get to Sermon in a second. But thoughts about JT. What are we expecting out of him? With which we just talked about AR5 rushing the ball so much. So is 5 too high? 16 too high? What do we expect here? Chance, let's start with you.
I think 5's too low, man. I think 5 is too low. I look at these other guys that are above him with CMC, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, and typically Jahmyr Gibbs ranked above him. Sometimes it's Saquon, sometimes it's Jahmyr. Depends on where you look. Mm-hmm. And I would take JT as high as RB3. I think that behind McCaffrey and behind Breece Hall, he is one of the only he's the guy in that backfield. Again, we joke, Trey Sermon. Oh, can't believe you put him on here. Trey Sermon's the backup. And I don't think we're giving Jonathan Taylor enough credit for 1, what he's done, and 2, how much they've committed to him being the guy. Even Jahmyr Gibbs, I just don't feel like we talk enough about David Montgomery and what he could steal in that backfield. Tyler Algier and how effective he was with the Falcons. Like, they're going to spell Bijan. JT has nobody to spell him. He's proven he can be effective in the passing game. Like, yeah, I would be content to take Jonathan Taylor as high as the 3rd running back off the board. I think he has been undervalued this year, and I'm eating him up everywhere I can.
Justin?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, as much as it pains me to say I would take JT that high, like even over my guy Bijan, like Jonathan Taylor was a freak his rookie year. Like, everybody forgets, like, he catches the ball well. Like, he is a very good running back. Like, if there was some world where I could get him and Breece for some reason, like, I would take those 2. But, like, there is nobody in this offense that is anywhere close to as talented as JT is, and like I think they're gonna run them. I wouldn't be surprised if they were top 5 in rushing attempts, rushing yards, whatever you want to call it this year, just because their two main guys are probably their best runners, in Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor's gonna. I think they're gonna give Anthony Richardson a bunch of easy passes to JT out of the backfield. So if you're a PPR guy, like he's gonna get a ton of catches, and they're not gonna take him off the field because it's Trey Sermons and Evan Hull. That is such a huge drop off when you take JT off the field.
Yep. No, I agree. I put Trey Sermon on there just I think he'll end up being the backup. I always liked him as a runner. Unfortunately, it might be probably a timeshare between the two. So that's my thought on Trey Sermon. If you want him as a backup, whatever. Chance, go ahead.
The only reason why I think you should put Trey Sermon on here is because, and I can stand alone on this, and I will. I felt the same way about Zach Moss last year. Like Zach Moss was backup. Okay, Zach Moss, whoop-de-doo. And then Zach Moss found his way in that system to getting a bag with Cincinnati. Like, I will stand alone not thinking Zach Moss is super great. I don't think Trey Sermon is that much of a drop off in talent from what Zach Moss is. And if Zach Moss could be effective in that backfield, if JT goes down, because he does get hurt, he has in the past, Trey Sermon is a valuable handcuff.
Yep. I agree. I can't dispel that at all. Here's my thoughts on JT, and I won't disagree with you guys. I don't really want to take him over McCaffrey, Bijan, or Brees, but he is definitely in that mix. Like, I am not concerned if all of a sudden Robinson and Haller are off the board and JT's there. I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? He's going to be good. So you kind of have to ask yourself, I'm like, all right, am I worried about Anthony Richardson? We just talked about his stats. We talked about him. He scored 4 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. Is he going to take carries away from JT? All right, well, let's look at other rushing quarterbacks who are in that combo. If we're going to say that the Ravens and Henry with Lamar are going to be the top rushing tandem in the league, then you're like, okay, Henry's still going to have plenty of carries. My thoughts are the exact same with the Colts. I actually think Richardson will open up lanes for Jonathan Taylor to run the ball. Right? And we've seen this time and time again. So do not shy away from Jonathan Taylor. He is still very valuable. I'm okay with picking him as he's in that top 5, 1 to 5. Let me put it that way. Not top 5. He is in the 1 to 5 category with running backs for sure. I agree with you. And all I'm saying is the audience here is do not shy away from Jonathan Taylor. This is still a good pick if he falls to you in this range or later. You're getting a steal. So that's all I have to say about that. So wide receivers, Pittman's, Downs, and Mitchell. So Pittman, 24th ranked wide receiver, 32 overall. Downs is 62 ranked, 128. And then the rookie AD Mitchell, 60th ranked and 124. Justin, I'm going to start with you on this wide receiver crew. And what we expect out of him? Do you like the ADPs? What are your thoughts?
I think the only one that I really like ADP-wise is AD Mitchell. It's probably going to be a lot different than both of you guys. Like Pittman, like when they gave him that contract, it almost felt like, whatever, like we'll just pay you. Like Pittman's not my cup of tea. Like it just feels like he catches a bunch of 5-yard dumps. Like he had, I think it was like he had 156 targets, which is great. Like we were talking about Evan Ingram, but he averaged 10 yards a catch and then had 4 touchdowns. So at 32, it's a little rich for me. Josh Downs is kind of the same player where they both play in the slot. They do a lot of their stuff. I don't feel like there's a downfield guy Alex Pierce was supposed to be that, and then they drafted AD Mitchell, who killed it at Texas. Height, weight, speed kind of guy. I love the fit. If they're going to let Anthony Richardson kind of throw the ball downfield, I think AD Mitchell is that guy. It feels like Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, they kind of just eat off of each other. Like, I'm not super in love with either of them, but I think AD Mitchell's a fun, like middle of the round flyer.
Chance?
Yeah, if I ended up with Pittman as my wide receiver 1 in a redraft league, I'd be thrilled. I think that with the way they paid him, with how he's built, with how he's played, I think he is a very clear wide receiver one. When we were doing our rookie draft for Dynasty, Lineberry and I talked a lot about how much we loved AD Mitchell, and I really was a huge fan of Adonai Mitchell. But I do think that it's hard to underestimate Josh Downs. I mean, Josh Downs last year, 68 receptions, 700 yards, only 2 touchdowns, but still he was. I mean, he has had 1 year of, that was his first year coming out of North Carolina where he was super productive. Like, I think he's a dude. He's not just a guy. I think Josh Downs could ball. I'm interested to see what that dynamic is between wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 on that offense. It's a dynamic that I won't figure out on my fantasy team. Give me Pittman, sure. Josh Downs, AD Mitchell. I will watch them play and assess them next year. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. So just one thing I want to go off, like Chance just made me think, like, it's hard to assess these 3 guys because none of them played a ton of downs with Anthony Richardson. So like Chance said, do you want to take the experiment? Because they had Gardner Minshew, correct? That was their quarterback. Yeah. And he threw the ball a lot, like, to a bunch of check down stuff. They were probably running crossers, flats, outs, 5-yard outs. So it's like kind of hard to make that bet on Josh Downs and Michael Pittman because I don't know if Anthony Richardson is that type of guy. I don't know if he's death by 1,000 cuts, which was what the Colts offense was. It was short dumps. Let's get the 2nd and 5, 2nd and manageable. Where AD Mitchell, I'm gonna take boom bust because he might turn to something because I loved him so much in draft season. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, you guys nailed it for me. I'm not touching any of these guys. They're all too high for me. The only one I would consider is Downs. I do think there's some value with there. I think he will be the just get down the field and go. Pittman's too high. He's been too high for me for way too long. He's an outstanding receiver. I like him a lot, but I'm not. This is one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to wait and see. And Chance nailed it perfectly. I want to see how this develops. I'm just not going to put him on my fantasy team to see how it goes. So
Matt, Michael Pittman or Christian Kirk?
Kirk all day.
Kirk all day.
All day. I like what I'm going there. So those are those 3. Tight end Jelani Woods. Thoughts on this? He's 26 overall.
Wood, you know what I'm saying? That dude's huge.
Yeah. He is a big dude. He only had 40 targets last year. Do you think he fits in with this offense? I mean, right? He's clear at the bottom. Probably not going to be drafted anywhere in this, but I don't mind talking about him in this offensive setup. You guys interested? Not interested?
I think he fits this offense in that they're building an athletics freaks team, right? Like that's just what this team is. We're going to have an athletic freak of a quarterback. We're going to have a running back that tests off the charts. Pittman and Adonai Mitchell are absolute studs, and Jelani Woods is a monster. Like that's just who the Colts are. And I love his fit for the scheme. I love his fit for the team. He would be a guy that I would, because tight end, you just don't know what the tight end landscape's going to be. He's a guy that I would take super late or try to pick up off of waivers for the first week of the season and then see how they use him. And then he would be on my high on my list of, I'm going to drop Jelani Woods for XYZ player that's the hot waiver wire pickup week 1, just because I want to have him on my team as what he could be for potential for tight end.
Justin?
Yeah, I'm not touching him.
Yeah, it's fair. And we talked about his size. He's 6'7", 253, so he's a tree. Yeah. I mean, he's super athletic. So,
not enough.
All right. Moving on. Let's get over to our last team here in this division, Tennessee Titans. Justin.
Yeah, let's go. This is like the brother of my team. Just kidding. Like the breakdown wise, 28th in total offense, real rough. 29th in passing offense, 17th in rushing, and then 27th in scoring. They're probably middle of the pack with 55% passing and then 44% run. With Brian Callahan coming over, he brings his dad, who probably was one of the best O-line coaches in the league. With Callahan again coming over from Cincinnati, he did not call the plays, so it's kind of hard to get a feel for what he will call. He did do some of the planning and the game day calls a little bit. Again, it'll be interesting to see how much he leans on his dad. They signed Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley to help out Will Levis, and they also drafted J.C. Latham. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how their offense goes. It seems like they're trying to bolster that whole line with Skaronski and Latham the past 2 years. Again, like the Jags, like it's kind of on Levis to see how well they do with him and Lawrence being the engines of that offense. One thing to take into account, I don't think the Titans are going to be very good. Newsflash. So I do think this offense will have a lot of garbage points in fourth quarters.
Yep. So you can see we'll start off with Will Levis here. Justin's guy. He's a Will Levis guy. So 24th ranked overall, ADP 145. You guys like the mayonnaise man? What are we thinking, Chance?
Listen, I really like Will Levis in Dynasty. I think Will Levis is a perfectly fine Dynasty quarterback to go out and have because, listen, I've heard this a bunch, and I get it. What if he is Josh Allen, right? Like, what if that's his ceiling? Is a Josh and again, Josh Allen is one of one. I get that, but Will Levis has shown those flashes. There was a lot of hype about him coming out of Kentucky. He's got a cannon for an arm. I think he could really come on this year. And in Dynasty, he'd be awesome to have. I think your best bet in redraft is he's going to be a guy that you would be comfortable picking up off of waivers to fill in for your quarterback who's on a bye. Like, that's the extent of what I want out of him. I do hope that he has enough of an arm to kind of feed some of these receivers, because I know he's going to try it. He's going to try to play hero ball, and if Josh Allen is his ceiling, I bet he could land somewhere along Jameis Winston as far as fantasy players goes. Not great for his team, but he hooks that ball and he scores points. I think that's a great comp. Tell me I'm wrong. He's not Jameis Winston.
Justin?
Yeah, I really like this offense. Like, it's such a smorgasbord of players, and I just think it's so funny. It's like they just threw a bunch of names in a hat. They just all right, we're just gonna throw this offense together and see what happens. The only concerning part for me is with Callahan coming over. I feel like Will Levis, Joe Burrow are totally different. Like, Joe Burrow is a very accuracy guy. Like, he's not a power thrower. Like, he's a schematic guy. Like, and Will Levis doesn't feel like that. It feels like I'm just gonna throw this ball as hard as I can. I don't care if I get killed. And I feel like that's the only thing offensive system wise that worries me. But they've invested so much in this offense, whether it's JC or Tyler Boyd or Calvin Ridley. I just want to see them do well. This is gonna be like a car crash. I feel like it's just gonna be fun to watch. It's just I'm just gonna watch it.
It's gonna be fun. What kind of sick human being are you?
You can't look away. It's just gonna be this offense is gonna be. There's gonna be such.
It's
bad
gonna
plays.
be fun to watch.
There's gonna be such bad plays where I'm just dying laughing. There's gonna be other ones where it's 80-yard bombs down the field. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. Like Chance said, I won't touch him in redraft, but I like him a lot in Dynasty. If you can go get him in Dynasty, I think he's worth a gamble.
Yeah, Will Levis to me, I'm probably not touching him anywhere. I really want him to do well. The dude's jacked. He's just awesome. Jacked up. He's a good dude.
Man.
Yeah, he would be so much fun to party with, man.
Yeah, he would be great to meet with. I'd love to get him on the show. Hey, he'd be a blast to talk with. So, ranked 24th overall is probably appropriate. It just kind of going through some stuff. I really, really want him to do well. I do have him ranked higher than Geno Smith, for sure. But 145, I'm probably staying away from Will, even though they've got a ton of weapons around him, and just hope he does well. And you know what? I have a feeling in many drafts he's going to go undrafted, unless you're in Superflex, of course. But in just a single QB, he may not end up in your league. So probably sticking away from him, but definitely a lot of upside. Running backs for Tennessee, the newly brought in Pollard, and then the Spears is there. And these two are very, very close in their ranks, 29 and 31, with Pollard being a little bit higher on the ranking, and the ADP at 102 and Spears at 107. You guys interested in either one of these running backs this year?
I want to hear Lineberry's. I have very distinct biases in this backfield.
He hates Tony Pollard.
All right, Justin, you go first.
He hates
you
Tony
go first,
Pollard.
Justin.
Oh man, I was looking at Tony Pollard's stats. He only had one game over 100 yards. Yikes!
I can't believe I traded Gibbs to Lineberry for Pollard last year. Okay, Pollard.
Ooh.
Listen, going into last year, Pollard was like a top 5 guy. Like he was the only guy on the Cowboys. I got burned so bad. Oh,
okay, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it short. I'm not touching Tony Pollard at all. And then where Tachi's getting drafted, I'm probably not gonna touch him. He's definitely interesting, but like Chance says with a lot of running backs, Tony Pollard like looks little, and he's not. He's 215, and then Tachi looks huge, but he's 5'9", 195. He just looks like he runs meaner. So like, I'm probably staying away from both of these guys. They're too close. That's too much of a gamble for me, running back wise. If I'm going running back by committee or like a zero or a hero RB look, I'll probably take the gamble on Taji over Tony.
Chance.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Tony Pollard football last year, man, and it was really tough because he was on my fantasy team, and I wanted him to do well. And I think he just got a lot of bad luck on the goal line with the Cowboys. And I think that Tony Pollard, and I want Tachi to do well as well. I think he looks like the better back to me. But I think Tony Pollard, with this Callahan O-line, could really see a lot of goal line looks. And he's going to have to regress back to the mean with touchdowns. His touchdown numbers were he didn't score a touchdown. Let's see, what were his touchdowns last year?
It's 6.
He had 6. And like,
he had 2 in the first week and then didn't have one for 8 weeks after that.
Yes. It was the worst. But those numbers have to regress back to the mean. And I think that he's going to get more goal line looks because he is the bigger back. And so, you know, I don't hate Tony Pollard. I would have him as an RB2 on my team if I went hero RB. You know, if I took a Brees or a Bijan or a JT in the first round and then scooped up good, you know, wide receivers, maybe some of those onesies positions, I would have him as my RB2 and then draft some other upside running backs behind him. But I am excited to see what these guys do with Callahan as the O-line coach. I think they could really – we don't know what Tennessee's running tendencies are going to be outside of Derrick Henry for the last 2 decades, it feels like.
Yeah, these 2 running backs, in my mind, is going to be straight up committee. Hands down, committed out. I think they're going to get some garbage stuff there. I'm probably staying away from both. I don't mind them at their ADP. It'll be interesting to see how they play out, but this is going to be. I don't expect like a workhorse from either one of these guys because that's not how they are. Dallas wanted Pollard to be that workhorse. 215 at 6 foot, I think is what he is. They're like, man, he can be our bell cow, and he's just not. That's not him. So he's probably 1-2 back. Spears is probably that third down, and I think Spears is 5'11", 195. So not a ton off, but they're different sizes for sure. I guess I don't know. If they fall to me in the right spot, I don't mind picking them up. I just don't know who to get, right? Because I think it could flip either way. So
Correct.
Moving to wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd, which Lineberry already talked about. Again, really close to ADP other than Boyd. Ridley's 36, Hopkins 38, and in rankings, 58 overall and 64 for ADP for Ridley, then Hopkins, and Boyd's 204. Interested in either one of these receivers or any of these receivers? Justin, let me start with you.
I feel like this wide receiver room was really good 4 years ago. Like, holy crap, we're cooking. We're cooking with gasoline with these guys, but I'm not touching any of these guys. Like, it's crazy to me, like, Calvin Ridley is on his second contract, and he's almost third.
Yeah.
Like, this is the start of his second contract, and, like, even when the Falcons had him, like I was never a big fan of his. It feels like Hopkins kind of over the hump, and then Tyler Boyd just feels kind of like a toss-in with Callahan with a little bit more familiarity with that offense, where he might be able to help Levis out as more of a third down guy and just like an easy check down guy. But I'm not touching any of these guys.
Chance.
Yeah, I would play devil's advocate to that and say that of these guys, I didn't love Calvin Ridley's tape. I don't know if he loves football. I just watched him. If I'm going to take a shot at one of these guys, it's probably going to be D-Hop at 64. I think that if you're looking at what we talked about, Will Levis being that I'm going to just throw the ball downfield. We have seen D-Hop be one of the best contested catch wide receivers in the last decade. Like, he is just great at going up and getting the ball. And I just don't think D-Hop is washed yet. I think he could be close. And, that happened for Julio Jones, right? Like, all the greats eventually just disappear. I don't know if I think D-Hop is going to disappear yet. So I'll take that chance on his ADP, hoping that he can catch some of those bombs downfield. And if I miss out on him, I'm not mad about Tyler Boyd. I mean, I think one of these guys is going to come out as the deep ball touchdown catcher for Will Levis. Give me D-Hop or Boyd for their ADPs.
So just to give you guys some just ages here, Ridley's 29, D-Hop's 32, Tyler Boyd's 29. So very veteran, long in the tooth wide receivers here. I don't know which one's going to be the guy. I really don't. Somebody's going to go downfield. I guess if I had to, for somebody for consistency, I'm probably leaning towards Ridley, but I agree with you guys. I don't know. I don't know. They're all kind of
no
we'll
Treylon Burks.
Yeah, Burks. No, he's out. I mean, and they had Phillips, who I thought was going to be that Kyle Phillips. I actually liked him a lot. He hasn't done much. He's 25, but probably staying away from most of these guys. Let you guys as viewers decide on who you want to go out of this group. But moving on to Chig Okonkwo. Good Lord.
Chig Okonkwo.
Yes. Chig Okonkwo. Ranked 25, 129. Guys, thoughts? What are your thoughts on him?
I have no idea. About Chig because a couple years ago when he kind of burst on the scene, he was a young hot tight end and he had a bunch of upside, and I said, sweet. I picked him up in Dynasty, and now I got to decide whether or not I want to drop him. I just don't know what to think about him. If we don't know which of the receivers to take, do we really think that he's going to do anything as a pass catching tight end? And he's tiny. He is not that. I mean, for a tight end, he is a little bit on the smaller side. He's 6'3", 238, but he just looks small out there. He's a route running tight end. And so I just don't know what it's going to look like for targets for him.
Yeah. That's
Justin.
That's how I feel. Same thing with Jelani Woods. Like, I'm not touching him. There's so many good tight ends that you can take 1 through 12. Like, you don't need to take a second tight end, especially not Chig.
This year will be a make or break year for Chig. He had 77 targets last year, which is pretty good for tight end, right? We'll see. I'm curious what they'll do, how they'll utilize him. He only had 1 touchdown, so he's going to need more than that. But 54 receptions. What was his 528? He's in that range if he gets a few more targets. But he's worth a late flyer to me, maybe as a second tight end if you want to hold on to him. But there are plenty other tight ends I might reach for. But Dynasty. Chance, I would hold on to him for 1 more year. Tight ends typically, he's 24. Tight ends usually at the age of 24. He's 25 is the tight end breakout age. So I would hold on to him for just at least another year and see how it goes.
Okay, you talked me into it. I'm glad I had somewhere to go for advice on this because again, he's on my short list for cuts when we have to cut down our roster.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
Anything for the Titans on these guys before we kind of start to look towards wrapping it up? I'm with you, Justin. Go ahead, Chance.
I just say I just am pumped to see what these guys are. The Titans were always a team that I've always liked. Right, going back to Eddie George and Like they've always been a fun team. I love their colors, their uniforms. They're from Nashville. They have that banger. I honestly think their schedule release is the best schedule release the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They're so funny. I just want to see them do well. I'm a Titans fan. Tighten up.
There you go. Yeah, I hope they do well. Gentlemen, well, that is the AFC South. We just covered a whole bunch here with a little over an hour. We went a long time on this group, but I thought this was a very good information for our fans and viewers. And when you do view it, man, leave us a like, subscribe to the channel, hang out with us. We have a lot of fun. We talk about all kinds of stuff on this channel and just have a good time with it. Any final thoughts before concluding? Justin, let me start with you.
My bold take is I don't think the Texans win this division. I think the Colts win this division with a very strong run game. I think the Texans have been such a swung into a thing where they just think they're the favorite, all this stuff. Like, I think this division's going to be fun. Like, the Jaguars, I think, are a lot better than people think. The Titans are going to surprise some people. Like, this division's going to be super fun after what feels like a down year. Like, I think the Colts go out and win this division.
How many wins do they need to win the division?
I think 10 or 11.
There you go. Lineberry with 11 wins for the Colts this year. Chance?
Yeah, man, I feel the same way. I hope the Colts do really well. I think that I'm still going to leave Texans, though. Lineberry, I'm still going to take you on that. I think the Texans still win this. I just want to see CJ develop. I want to see how he develops. Also, not related to this division, July 2nd, coming up, I believe is the premiere of the Hard Knocks, our first Hard Knocks of the year, which is the New York Giants draft Hard Knocks. So get some of that football NFL films coming out, baby.
Should be fun. All right, gentlemen, an hour and 20 minutes. We crushed it for this one, man. We went a long time. Hope all you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a comment, subscribe. Our whole goal is to help you win your leagues. That is more than anything else is bragging rights. We love the bragging rights when it comes to fantasy football. So with that being said, let's close it up for tonight. And we will be back. I think we might be back, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, we get to talk about Chance's division, baby.
Yep.
AFC West, baby.
Go Chiefs, baby. Go Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes.
We are on the countdown for the NFL season, and football is right around the corner, so we're super excited. With that, have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you on Tuesday or Wednesday for sure. Later.
See ya.